Hello, I am Larissa. Welcome to Goblins Discord. This is a very special episode. I feel titillated to make this. I'm pretty unprepared, but I feel that my soul is prepared for what is to come because I'm typing Elliot Rodger. Now, he came up in a conversation when I was talking with an Enneagram friend just about how certain types relate to how in my opinion 136 trifix and 369 trifix often tend to be drawn towards serial killer shit and true crime, and I assume that has to do with like the six shit, the fear, the and also like some kind of attachment projection of like living out their dark repressed fantasies or something. I don't know. I'm not into that stuff. There's a handful of people that have committed these big crimes that I am drawn to, and it's largely just because of their personality, not because of what they did. And Elliot Rodger is one of those people. And I hadn't looked at him in since he first did his, well, he's dead now. So before he went on his like little crime spree. Um, I don't know the details of his killing spree. I think he killed his roommate. I think he was trying to kill a bunch of sorority girls, but I think he might have like accidentally killed like some random guys. I don't know. I'm probably butchering it. It's not the details that interest me about Elliot Rodger. It's his personality. And I assumed he would be like a three wing four. And when you look at him, which I'll show you in a moment, is he's kind of got like a shiny little prince. He's so obviously an image type, like which I'll get into once I start showing some stuff, whatever stuff that may be. And I read his manifesto. I never read these things. I never read the manifestos, but I had to read his manifesto, and it was just dripping with disdain. Like it was kind of an entertaining read, which I hate to say. Like I'm not trying to like be one of those gross people who's like, oh, I love killers. I'm not into killers, but it was his personality that just drew me into him. I felt this like instant, almost like kind of affection towards him, and like I couldn't relate to his struggle as he was like a deranged incel. I can get laid, okay? But I could kind of like, I don't know, I felt my heart do little. I felt for him. I felt for Elliot Rodger. Not to say that excuses what he did, but there was something about him that just kind of activated me a little bit. And I had to read his entire manifesto. And I didn't want to reread it for this, but I found a video where some guy reading parts of his diary, and I don't know, whatever. So when he has like a video manifesto, he has like he has a lot of manifestos. So I think Elliot Rodger is a four wing three, and I think that he is the perfect personality type storm for what he did. It was almost like fated on some level. And like, you can analyze his background and like, half white, half Chinese. He had a real chip on his shoulder about being half Chinese. He had this like internal self-loathing about and he hated Chinese men, and whenever he saw Chinese Asian guys with like white women, it caused him to like go into some kind of like rage, like he was disgusted. And so there was like this whole self-loathing thing going on. But then there was also this like entitled narcissism where he felt like he deserved more. He deserved to be worshipped by women. And why wasn't he? And then, oh, the despair when I do find a woman, they're gonna reject me for my small penis. And like, I don't know, it's just so dramatic and so infused with like hormonal teenage drama that I don't know, it just speaks to me on some level. And he is just so perfectly and he reminds me of someone I know that's a strike fix. When I started watching, I was like, oh my God. And I hope that friend of mine doesn't watch this because it's a little bit too close to home. I don't think this friend of mine is going to go on a killing spree. And you might be wondering, Larissa, well, if you're into micro niche Enneagram, whatever groups and all of these things, all of these cursed factions, you might be wondering, well, do you think the non-famous micro niche Enneagram person with their own YouTube in a group who types as a four wing 361, which is what I type Elliot Rodger, which I'll go into in a second, is a four wing 361? No, I don't. That's laughable. There's no reality in which that person is a four wing 361. Will I be typing that guru for my channel? No, I won't, because it's low hanging fruit and who cares? And I also don't want to give, as much as I I'm like, that guy's not a 4. You know who I'm talking about if you know who I'm talking about. I don't want to give the vultures and the haters and like I don't want to feed the trolls. I don't want to give them what they want. So I won't be doing a typing video of that person because I'm not interested in either gross side of that thing, whatever that thing is. But no, he's clearly not a 4. Anyway, this is what a 4-wing 361 looks like, okay? And it's glorious. So he's a 4-wing 3, dark prince. I believe he called himself the supreme gentleman, but then the media labeled him the king of incels, which is so perfect and tragic. And I believe he's a 6-wing 5 head second, so, or just fixed. So he's got the school shooter head center. That 6'5", 5'6" school shooter vibe, got the trench coat, but if he's an image type, so of course he's going to make it attractive. He's not going to look like one of those like brooding comical anime villain 6-wing 5s living out their death fantasy for girls rejecting them. And a lot of the stuff is in his head too, by the way. A lot of the stuff, and this is why I believe, and the way he does it is like an image type because it's like his lore. It's like his Elliot Rodger lore of rejection and how he's this big romantic and nobody loves him and nobody sees it. And he was like 22 when he did this, and he's very pretty. I guess I can show him now. I'm just kind of like getting high on my own supply, and I think he's 1 fixed, 1-wing 9. He's got the self-righteousness, the frustration. I call this, how do we do this? Okay, yeah, I think this is working. I call this trifix, tri-type, whatever, trifixation, you want to call it, the archetype. I call it spite privilege. I also call it scab doily, but spite privilege has never fit anyone as much as it fits this person. This is the perfect name for his type, spite privilege. So look at him, he's very pretty. This is why I thought he was a 3-wing 4 at first. He's kind of got that like, he's very curated on video too. He's very much doing a kind of 3-ish thing on video. Where I'm not sure about his type is his instincts. He's either sexual dom or he's sexual last. He's clearly not social blind, so he's all about hierarchies and status and where he falls in the hierarchy, which makes me lean social self-pres. My conspiracy theory about Elliot Rodger and my just woman's intuition is that he was actually grappling with probably being gay, and like because of his type with 6-1 stem inside of this image center core, was that he, not only did he feel bad about being half Asian because he had associated that negatively, and that he doesn't even look half Asian to me. He looks kind of like he's got some kind of like Spanish thing going on, but, or like some kind of like Eastern European sort of flavor to him. But anyways, doesn't really matter. I don't know. Is this racist? I don't fucking know. Who cares? Woke is over, people. Woke is over. I don't know if you got the memo. Anyways. Where was I going with this? Oh, I kind of think he might have been gay, and that's where the hatred towards women came from. It wasn't actually coming from women denying him, because look at him. He's pretty. I think he could have got chicks if he wanted to. Like, his personality is probably what blocked him. But he was pretty. He was very pretty. I could see girls having a crush on him. So I think he could have gotten girls, and I think he created this like image narrative for himself about why he was broken and rejected and defective. It's like the introjection thing with 4, where he took charge of the narrative, of the negative narrative himself, and decided it was because of this thing that he could accept as his negative story arc, and not that he was actually not attracted to women, because maybe in some twisted universe for him that was unacceptable. I don't know if this is true, but this is my sense of him as a person. And so he used the negative fuel that he could kind of, I don't know, maybe distance from his own ego in some weird way and use it to create his like image narrative. Anyways, I'm kind of going off the rocker here with my story about Elliot Rodger, having not known him at all. Okay, where do I want to begin? Okay, let's start with I think he posted this a day before he went on his killing spree. I think maybe he had already killed his roommate at this point. I'm not 100% sure. So let's just observe. Okay. Wait.
Hey, Elliot Rodger here. I'm up in the hills in Montecito right now. It's truly a beautiful day. But, as I've always said, a beautiful environment is the darkest hell if you have to experience it all alone. And sadly, I've been alone for a very long time. I've been attending college in Santa Barbara for about 2.5 years now.
So I'll just start by saying, like, he's this is very artificial feeling to me, anyways. I think that he's a young 4-wing 3. I think you could argue that he's a low health 3-wing 4, but what happens is when you go into your low health of your type, for threes, they can become like existential and depressed and everything, but they're still going to do their core type patterns. And for 3, that's like deception. That's trying to like convey this like image of success. And he's really leaned into the image of I'm broken. Like he's got a lot of 3. He's got a lot of 3, and I'm sure that that's amplified by him having a 1 fix, which is like a competency and like a very like a. It's I mean it's not an assertive type in the Enneagram sense, but it's assertive. Like it adds oomph, to a person. And the 6 attachment piece. So he's doing this very artificial sort of like my woe is me arc, my woe is me story. Here's why I'm about to do what I'm going to do. I'm very alone. Nobody loves me. But then you look at him, and this was like kind of, I think, one of the widely agreed upon things about it was like Elliot Rodger was like kind of hot. Like, So this is where the 4 shit happens, where it's like, I'm so defective. And 6s do this too, but 6 cores are doing it in a humble way where it's more like fear of being evicted from the tribe, or like um sort of like they have like the whole like a loser aesthetic, and it's not the same as like a 4 loser aesthetic where it's like not actually about being a loser. It's about like I'm so tragically put upon and misunderstood, and like no one ever suffers like I suffer. And like for 6s, that would be narcissistic for 6 cores. And so 6s with a 4 fix might still feel this, but at the end of the day, they're still gonna be doing the six thing. Like, oh, I'm just a gross little, I'm just, I'm just like you guys, but sadder, you know.
In those 2.5 years, I've experienced nothing but loneliness and misery. And my problem is girls. There are so many beautiful girls here, but none of them give me a chance, and I don't know why. I don't know why you girls are so repulsed by me. It doesn't make sense. I do everything I can to appear attractive to you. I dress nice. I'm sophisticated. I'm magnificent.
Well, here's the aristocrat stuff, the 3-4-4-3 aristocrat stuff. But what's how 3s do it is they're using the aristocrat stuff to elevate themselves above other people, where it's like, I'm better than you. And he's doing the version of I'm better than you, but it's like, I'm better than you because I'm so broken. I'm so tragic. And it's like, why don't you like me? I do what I do to like attract you, but he's not doing anything to attract them. He might think he is, but his actual core type is what he's not seeing, right? And that's that he's purposely sabotaging his own self-image and his own ability to get what he wants. And every single type sabotages what they want. By overdoing it. And so he's wanting to be this like romantic, tragic gentleman, superior gentleman, or whatever he called himself. But he's pushing women away with it, but also because I think he was secretly gay. But anyway.
I have a nice car, a BMW. Well, nicer than 90% of the people.
Yeah, so this is where I'm seeing social self-pres for him. Even though he has this whole almost like sexual fixation with like his attractiveness and his repulsion to other people's physical attractiveness, and like women not loving him. I think that this can be pure social shit. I think that what he's doing right here is like social. It's all kind of about like status and like I'm doing the right things in the social space. And like, I mean, that was SP, like I have my BMW or whatever it is, but it's like I'm dressing properly, like I'm, it doesn't feel like that loose. It's not like about chemistry or anything. It's like about being attractive in the social. I don't know if this makes sense. I mean, I'm curious to hear people's thoughts in the comments if you have any about his instincts. I kind of went through a process of elimination for them. I'm not the greatest at the instincts, so I try to treat them lightly. But anyway,
people in my college. You know, I'm polite. I am the ultimate gentleman.
oh,
And yet, you girls, you never give me a chance.
what is this? This is some 361 stuff going on. Like, I know that I shouldn't feel like deep empathy for him, but I really do. It like hurts me to watch this. I hadn't watched this before I filmed this because I don't like watching. I don't like over preparing because then I feel like it kind of strips the authenticity of, even though it's maybe not as articulate. But anyway,
I don't know why. I put a lot of effort into dressing nice. These sunglasses here, they were $300. Giorgio Armani. So I'll put them on.
again, this is some three shit. This is some three, not SP blind shit, I think. But again, I really think he's a four, and I think that there are types where like four is I think one of the main types where it's like if you can see any wing influence, then like three influence, then people are more likely to be like they're an attachment type or something. So as much as I get really annoyed with like the whole not a four movement, I also get really annoyed with the opposite end of it. So I just feel like the reason that I really wanted to do Elliot Rodger was just to like find a rotten four, basically, like a not creative artist four, to kind of show what four is actually doing in a way that like people like nines and sixes and maybe the odd three won't be like, oh, that's so me.
See? Hold on. Car.
And he follows the rules because he's 6 and 1 fixed. He's respectful, okay?
See? Look at how fabulous I look. You know, I feel so invisible as I walk through my college because none of the girls there pay attention to me.
See how fabulous I look. But I'm so invisible. No girls pay attention to me. So this is kind of where you can see the difference again between three wing four and four wing three. Is like he's going to keep circling back to the negative self image. And it is very image wounded. Like this is very shame coded. Like this is very like I don't have an audience. I'm not getting gays. I'm not getting the kind of gays that I want. Gays, Gaze, not my gay theory, but it's like he's not getting the gays that he desires, or at least he's in his mind, in his lore, in his heart narrative, he's not getting the gaze that he wants. And I am 100% sure he got checked out constantly. So this is like a lie. And this is the lie. Again, each type is sort of lying to themselves, but this is the lie image types tell to themselves because they're going to push away or they're going to have some sort of reaction to anything that creates shame in them. And for like a four, that's going to be anything that's out of alignment with this sort of misunderstood persona that they have. And this is where nines relate to four because it's like I feel misunderstood. I feel invisible. It's like you feel safe being invisible though, nines. Image types don't feel safe being invisible because they're image types. Fuck, what was the other thing I was gonna say? I'm sure it'll come back.
I see so many beautiful blonde-haired, just so many beautiful blonde-haired girls walking around.
I really hope the audio on this is coming through because I don't want to have to edit it, but I can't make it louder. I'll probably switch this in a second.
Everywhere. In your revealing shorts.
Oh yeah, so what he's going to do is he's going to be filtering out any information where he is actually getting this gaze that he desires, or if he would get it, it would probably destabilize him on some level, like his nervous system, like his image center, and get probably in some kind of like fantastical romantic mode about it, but then it would of course come crashing down because you can't not do your type. All you can do, and this is for people who are into the Enneagram, because the majority of people do not know that they're doing this shit, regardless of type. So the most you can really do, and this is like I'm saying this after like 5 years of aggressive self work, is you can integrate like the stuff with your main centers. It's like you can be aware of it and then you can make different choices, but it's still going to be there. So it's like he's going to be filtering, auto reflexively filtering any information that tells him the opposite of what his self image is. So if he was getting information, which he probably was all the time, we love you, Elliot. You're so da 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 da. Like we like, he's not gonna. It's gonna like just reject it. It's gonna be met with like a cognitive wall.
Your cascading blonde hair, your pretty faces.
Yeah, and the way that he speaks is so like four to me, and like just four fix four. It's just like so melodramatic. The cascading hair.
And I want one for a girlfriend. I want to take a girl out on a date and prove to her that I'm worthy.
Yeah, and then there's the six part proving worth, but also I mean I don't know, maybe that's image center stuff too, but I think that's more six than anything.
I want to feel that sense of being worthy of a girl's love and affection.
Yeah, and I mean this is kind of the four unworthiness stuff where again, like I think sixes and nines relate to it. Well, I don't feel worthy, but it's like this main program like where sixes and nines will find that person likely, or maybe they won't, but um how do I address this? But having a person will kind of complete them. They will feel a sense for longer than a four, I think, will, where they feel this worth. Whereas a four is going to be constantly on edge about this because it's the core shame wound.
I'm 22 years old and I've never had a girlfriend. I'm still a virgin. I've never had the pleasure of having sex with a girl, sleeping with a girl, kissing a girl. I've never even held a girl's hand. Hell, I don't even have a young girl's phone number in my cell phone.
I really think he rehearsed this like 800 times. Okay, I'm just gonna pull up something else here. Diary. Hopefully this is louder.
Especially the day I arrived in the United States of America. I remember the big plane we rode in, the Virgin Atlantic, I believe, though I didn't really care at that age. I would go to the window at the back and look down upon the beautiful white clouds covering the world with wonder. I imagined myself running across them as if they were a landscape. At certain points I could faintly see the landscape beneath, hundreds.
And so, okay, like we're looking at he's a child, you know? Like I don't know how old he is. He's like in his teens or something, maybe when he wrote this, I'm not sure. And he was obviously a writer. Like, and I think that at some point I read that he was thinking about becoming a writer, and he would have become probably a fucking good writer if he hadn't gone on a killing spree. Um, which is kind of the tragedy of it all, right? I really think that like the fours who become successful, like like famous or something, it's like they become successful despite their personality. So like Morrissey, for example, and I'm thinking Morrissey might actually be nine wing one fixed. I've always thought he was a 461, but I'm pretty sure Elliot Rodger is, and I don't see as much one with Morrissey. So anyway, I've never done an official typing video of him. That's based off other people's typing that I was just like I agreed with. But I think he's probably nine fixed. He just looks one fixed because he has a giant chin. um, but like Morrissey, I find him funny, and I love his persona. I love his personality. It's so entertaining, and I could just bathe in it. I could soak in it. It's great. Um, but I think for a lot of people, they find him really off-putting. So it's like he's become successful despite his four efforts to sabotage his self-image at every turn. So, and I think that like what happens when you're a four and you don't have some sort of creative, like you aren't fed that constant fuel that sort of you are like an image type and you want to be seen. So, I think that there's been this like, I'm really all over the place, but a lot of nines who type as fours are like, oh, well, like, no, it's like a withdrawn core, we're withdrawn, but it's like, it's still a heart type, it's still an image type. So an image type needs gaze, right? Image types need gaze. End of story. It doesn't matter if you're social last or not. This is my opinion. So he needs to be seen in the world and validated. And so that's going to be very complicated for a core four because they both want that kind of, they want gaze in the very specific way that they want to be seen. And most people being whatever type they are not going to understand what the fuck that is. So it's very complicated for core fours and even people with a strong four fix because there's like a tangled web of being seen, but it's not the same as like a nine who on some level kind of doesn't really want to be seen. It's like they'll be seen for bursts and then sort of like, oh, like don't look at me kind of, being reductive, but this is, like you can only go so far with the triad words, like withdrawn, assertive, like et cetera, et cetera. And he's clearly like a four wing three, like little dark prince. Like he's got that whole, and I mean, I think it's intensified with a six wing five school shooter fix. So he's sort of got like the perfect storm of killing spree in his type. That's why he's so fascinating. And again, I don't think that like somebody with this type is going to go on a killing spree, but he did kind of have this perfect malevolent tsunami hurricane brewing because he couldn't get laid or he was gay and he didn't want to admit it. And and his dad's this director, like not like famous, but he was like doing okay. And he had access. He wasn't like a deprived, he wasn't living in the gutter. He didn't have to like suck anyone's dick to put food on the table for his family or anything. He didn't come from like an unprivileged background, although I think he had like, his parents divorced and da. But anyway.
Hundreds of squares of farms and fields. The plane ride was very long, but I was too excited to fall asleep. When we landed,
yeah, what I was going to say was, so he's creating his lore, and so I don't think this is a singular. This is an image type versus another type point, but this is something I've heard people talk about, and that I think multiple types can relate to. So it's not a definitive you're an image type, but I do think image types do tend to have this kind of like story they're building about themselves. And he's doing it in a diary. So, and I think his diary does feel written to gaze, like it feels like GAZ. I feel like it's written to be read.
I could see all the lights of LA out the window, which amazed me. I got to catch up on my sleep on the ride home. As we got into the blue Jeep my father rented, I was very tired and groggy from the journey, but I can remember that precise moment so vividly to this day. The image I envisioned from the back seat of the Jeep as it pulled out of the airport parking lot is still fresh in my mind, the first step of my life in the US.
Yeah, and he's creating like this imagistic impression, the symbolic. He's kind of framing it all through an aesthetic. I mean, he's like young, so it's not like nuanced or whatever, but it's like kind of like the Elliot Rodger story in his mind. He's like on the plane, getting off the plane, like it's like, here we go, like the next chapter of my life.
April 23rd, 2010. All is quiet, but the horrible emotions roiling inside me clash, and I erupt like a great storm. Like a storm damages land and forest, the storm of fury racks me with pain. And yet, with the power of my superior mind, I quell the storm with dexterous foot.
Oh, this is just so cute to me. It's so charming. And it's so like, I just feel like it's so 461. Like it's just there's so much one-ish, like it's like there's so much for melodrama. And then there's this like one-ish, like, I don't know, God complex sort of superiority complex. But it's because it's not a one core, it's not like as like, I don't know, what is the word I'm looking for? Ascetic or abstemious or something, or like it's not going to be like through this like kind of pious lens. It's just like feeding his four frustration and like, and then it's like, you know, the like he's double reactive. It's just so ridiculous. Everything feels so life and death. And I mean, it does when you're young, but how to be young again?
Focus. The storm of fury eases and is banished back down to the core of my heart. The storm is gone, but the scar remains, as they always do.
Oh, of course it does. It always remains the scar. The scar remains. The scar of like what? What is this even about? It's so ridiculous.
April 20th.
For the people who are like, I'm a four. It's like, are you though? Are you like this? Because this to me is like what a four core is like, okay?
5th, 2010. The reality of human barbarism has been haunting me.
The reality of human barbarism has been haunting me for several years now. The process of discovering these terrible truths has been slow and grueling. But now, as I've gathered much insight and knowledge through study and observation, I have come to understand humanity's current state and my place in the world. Now is the time to find a way to mend. I don't need this guy's narration. Fuck him. Now is the time to find a way to mend these problems with human nature. This is so unfixed and just like so like 6-wing 5, like nihilistic, like, but it's like active nihilism. It's not like 5 neutral nihilism. It's like active, and it's like just amplifying this, like the drama, this 4 shit, and it's not coded in the 6 way of like, you know, I mean, I think all reactive types have a thing with truth, but his seems to be in the image center where it's like the truth, the horror, you know, and 6 like, there's always going to be the undercurrent of like, there's a bad man out there, or there's like this kind of like, I mean, he does have like a bit of the tribal thing in the sense that he's like, I'm outside of the tribe, but the 6 is going to be trying to get themselves ingratiated into the tribe, and sometimes they'll do these little outbursts of like, here's the bad man, and now look at me as the expert. Or, like I'm talking about Enneagram group people, but before it's like this constant, I'm on the outside. I can't come in. Oh, it's just so terrible. Yesterday, I drove to Metro Hair Salon to get my hair cut. Oh, here we go with the 3. I had an appointment with, wait, where's the next part? Oh. Well, whatever. Summer is here and the temperature's scaldingly hot today. I cannot even open my window because the heat would permeate into my room. I must be wary every time I go outdoors, for the hot sun would surely affect my skin in an unpleasant way. There we go, some vanity. Summer, my 19th summer, my birthday is approximately 1 month away. This year has gone by too fast, and each year seems to be passing faster and faster, I fear. Oh, I'm getting so old. Out of the 19 years that I've lived on this world, 5 have been a torment full of unfulfilled desires. I remember the start of this dreadful period of my life all too well. I never used to get along with girls very well, even as a child. They were always cold and bitchy towards me, as if he isn't cold and bitchy. And not one ever befriended me. Before I hit puberty, though, that wasn't much of a problem. But then the day came, the day my manhood would stir at the sight of a hot girl, the day I first started touching myself late at night while fantasizing about making love. And also, my one of my friends in the Enneagram space has kind of shared his thoughts with me on like how 4s tend to romanticize the past. 9s do it too. 9s do it all the time. But 4 and 4 fixers, and he's definitely doing that. But I'm sure he like also was just as miserable when he was like prepubescent, because you know, and it was like before the divorce, before this, like there's always this before period that's idealized, or the future period that's idealized, but it's never the present. Everything's horrible because you're a frustration type, right? The little runt, the weird kid, but boys always made fun of me and girls would tease me. That hurt the most. I felt so out of place, so lost, separate from the rest of humanity, but that's what he can't help but feel separate from humanity. And it's not something that he could have reconciled because of his type. I hid in a virtual world and tried. And this is kind of the interesting thing to me, actually, is like, what do kind of the types that are sort of romanticized look like in modern culture, where everybody's terminally online? Because one might think that like a core four would be like, oh, I don't go online, I just write poetry in my bed or something. But I think that like, I mean, he's got a 615 fix, so he was kind of also destined to be terminally online. But I don't know. I think it's just sort of an interesting thing to think about. Um, but the pain was always there. And that was only the beginning. Such a lonely 5 years it has been, and I've grown ever more bitter and resentful. And I'm sure there are six wing fives that will relate to this. Of course, there will be. Am I a four? Whereas Elliot Rodger is 6.5. He's not a 6.5. This is like image core retardation for sure. Um, I mean, I feel like I've made a lot of points, but maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm not making enough. I don't really know. I'm gonna see if I can find like one more thing just to wrap this up. I have no idea how long this is. I don't know. I'm not making fun of him either. I genuinely love this kind of stuff. It just like feeds my soul. It feeds my soul. Not that he killed people, but just these diary entries. This is just, I love it. It just, I don't know. Okay. And by the way, do not send me your weird like school shooter fan fiction or something. I'm not going to read it. So I just wanted to make that clear because I just realized, oh God, I don't want to read anything you've written. Anybody on the internet, don't fucking send me any of your musings or your suffering brands. I'm not interested. I am not interested. Do not send them to me.
Trying to help him. He was really, really upset about why is the world so unfair to him, and like, oh, I'm a good looking guy, and why are girls falling for those ugly fat guys?
I don't know.
Yeah, and this is envy, right? Like, I mean, it's very like wing three influenced, and I think like also with six and probably with one, like I'm perfect. Why do they like, and you know, like the six, like comparisonitis, and but I think four and three because it's like he's never not framing it in a negative self image. I'm rejected, I'm disgusting, but I'm beautiful. They don't understand me. It's like this, like to me, this is what four is doing, and like it's four has just been like totally turned into some kind of abomination of itself of what it actually is. It's not romantic in a palatable way. It's romantic in a narcissistic, self-aggrandizing, self-loathing way. Like this is to me, I mean, he was low health and he was a child, but this to me is really like a pure typification of what this type is really doing. And he's like aesthetically judging people. He's like it's like constant vain projections of like this person's ugly.
Why you girls aren't attracted to me, but I will punish you all for it.
Sometimes
There's the one, right? There's the 6-1 stem right there. I'll punish you.
I don't want to hang out with him because he's so depressing.
You denied me a happy life, and in turn, I will deny all of you life.
He never actually
Oh, there's the 6-1-5 coming out. Oh boy.
made me feel that, oh, there's a
Andy fucked up his murder spree. Like a court 4 would, of course. If he was a 3, it would have been competently executed.
red flag.
I am going to enter the hottest sorority house of UCSB.
I think he was jealous of the girls. I think this is the true envy. It's not the envy of the men that are fucking these chicks. I think he was envious of the girls. This is my thought. Because I think he was gay. And I'm not trying to make this like an anti-gay thing because I don't care. I think it's just an interesting facet of his personality, and like people attach way too much ideological things to like things that you can just say and they don't mean anything. And I'm not saying anything negative about gay people, but I think that he was like repressed, and that like also speaks to his like one fix, so he's like doing like 4 introjection where he's like picking the narrative, the negative narrative about himself that he finds palatable. And it's not being gay, it's being half Asian and that women have rejected him. And then he's got the one repressed shadow. He's got this like anger and the simmering hatred and self-righteousness where he's like purging, he's cleansing. He's punishing them for being bad because they didn't give him the gaze he wanted. And then there's the six wing five. Because I like, you can fight me on this one, but I think attachment types, so 3, 6, 9 are actually the most entitled of the types. My reasoning for this is that I think that attachment types, because they attach, they feel entitled to be rewarded or have something given back to them for their attachment. And so when they don't get it, they get mad because it's like I adapted for this and I didn't get what I adapted for. So I think there can be like a rage, and I think like that can come up and just as a fix too. And I think it's like a six wing five sort of orientation. Where he is connected to the matrix and the head center, and he's like, I'm doing these things that should on paper get me access to the sorority house, but it didn't work. But it's not going to work because he's a 4 and he's going to be preventing himself from being able to do that in the first place.
And I will slaughter every single spoiled, stuck-up blonde.
And we watched a movie.
I mean, I shouldn't be laughing, I suppose, but this is like over 10 years ago, right? So I'm sure everybody's healed. And I like, and again, I'm not into like true crime and like killers and da-da-da, but I don't know, I just find it so fascinating and like weirdly charming.
With a group of friends. It's called Chronicle. After the movie, he told me that, I want to dominate the world.
Of course, it was a Max Landis movie that inspired him. Max Landis is an insufferable, I think probably 7, unfortunately.
Good God, exacting my retribution and all those who deserve it.
While the shooting was going.
And I really think this is motivated by not getting gays. Not for like a 6 reason. Like they wouldn't let me, like 6 core, like there's going to be aspects of each center, and this is why I really like looking at the archetype of the tribe, because it's like more informative, I think, in some ways, to start there. Like, so 1, 4, 6, it's like and again, like I call it spite privilege, because it's like there's this like entitlement, narcissism, it's frustration, but it's like something's always going to be wrong, there's going to be something to judge and critique and nitpick, and then there's going to be the self-loathing piece. So this is like, I imagine, a very hard type to be. I would not want to be this type, that is for sure. I don't think life would be easy being this type.
I was in a bar with my friend. I saw a picture of his car. So I was really shocked. I'm like, dude, this is Elliot's car. I started to see some news feedback on Facebook, and I was totally shocked. I was disappointed.
All you girls who rejected me and looked down upon me and, treated me like scum while you gave yourselves to other men. And all of you men.
I really don't think he was treated like scum. Like, I think that this is honestly this narrative that he's made up for himself.
You're living a better life than...
And I think that like a 6 core would probably be treated like scum, maybe, to have this kind of narrative, like where there would be this like attempt to keep adapting, and they would be trying, you know what I mean? And I think that like what he's doing is pretending to try, like where he's like, see, I got sunglasses, but it's like, that's not really the attachment core way of getting what you want, because it's not adapting. It's just accoutrements. It's like he was trying to do a wing 3 strategy that obviously didn't work because he's a 4.
Me, all of you sexually active men, I hate you.
And again, this is like the 4, I mean, listen, I know that other types will relate to this. And again, he's a child, so he was a child. So he's picking sort of this low-hanging fruit baseline thing of like why he hates, and I know that this is like common now online, like with incel culture, incel Reddit culture. Oh, we hate the Giga Chads. We hate the Chads. They're getting laid and we're not getting laid. And like, I know that like this means that somebody will watch this who's not a 4 and be like, yeah, that's how I feel. I must be a 4. And it's like, you have to look at what the core center is doing, and like he's an image type. Look at him. He's like staged it at like the midnight hour, or what's it called, the twilight hour. He's fucking like this is so imagey and staged and curated, and it's like his little Phantom of the Opera manifesto. It's so imagey.
I hate all of you. I can't wait to give you exactly what you deserve.
And there's a kind of like quality to him that does feel like this sort of heart vulnerability. Um, Even though he's like saying all these terrible things, there's like this sort of wounded shame type. It's like, you keep causing me shame, and so now I'm going to punish you.
I think he's a really lonely guy. I mean, if he had received more love, then
Well, that's the thing too. I think how this is written about, at least to my knowledge, and the types, is that 3 is the one seeking unconditional love. I think it's, I think it's all of the image types. I think that there is a, but I think it's like 4 wants unconditional love for being rotten. Like they want unconditional love for being broken, and having people like just accept them as that, and they don't want to change. They just want you to accept that this is what they're like and love them for it. And so it's like with 2, it's like they want the unconditional love as well, and they go about getting it a different way. They're going about getting it by giving and giving, but they want you to give to them. They want, it's like this, it's like on either end of the hexad heart thing, where it's like they're again, it's like you're self-sabotaging what you deeply do want because you won't allow yourself to have it, because it goes against your self-image. So with 3s, it's a little bit more direct. Like you can just like be like, validate a 3 and be like, fuck, you're spectacular, like killed it. And then it's like, yeah, they got their image cookie. But with 4 and 2, it's way more complicated. And with 4, it's even more complicated because they're kind of never going to be able, they're not really ever going to be able to get the gaze that they want, you know? And that's kind of the unfortunate, and that's, I think, why that type, 4s and 4 fixers feel cursed, because it is kind of a curse, That's how I feel about it. It is kind of a curse. So you kind of have to, I don't know, give yourself that gaze in a way where you have to give yourself that unconditional love, I think, is maybe what that is for image types. Just having that thought now. That feels right. Yeah.
I don't think it will get that bad.
Some chilling insight into the mind of.
God, what is this dress? It looks like one of those 80s cups, like those Dixie cups. Anyway, all right, I think I've done enough on this. So I'm soft landing on social self-pres. I think that like this performance was sort of a romantic, like kind of sexual leaning thing, but it wasn't sexual. I think it was sexual last. I really think he wasn't actually in touch with his sexual center. But again, like this is kind of a thing I've noticed with a lot of social types, or like even self-pres ones, where they misunderstand what the sexual center really is. Not that he knew what the Enneagram was, but I'm sure if he did, he would have gotten super into it, and he would have gotten in all the discords and been annoying everybody. But social self-pres, 4-wing 3, 6-wing 5, 1-wing 9. So then what was his shadow is 3, 5, 9. So fuck, what do I even call that? I don't have any of these memorized. So yeah, his alter ego is smooth operator. So that kind of gives him like an extra layer of kind of like removed from humanity, a little bit of a flavor. Kind of amplifying that 6-wing 5 school shooter core. And like I said, he's a spite privilege, and he's also a Karen alter ego. I mean, you can see the Karenness, but ultimately he's just like a miserable 4. Anyways, honestly, like I kind of hope by doing this that it just sort of like fell into my lap by sparkly coincidence. And I just hope that this sort of like illuminates, I'm sure some people will disagree with my typing of him as a 4-wing 3, but I really think what 4-wing 3 is doing. And I think that 4-6-1 specifically is like ultra 4 because it's like so miserable, so much of a miserable trifix. So I kind of like hope this illuminates for some people that mistype as a 4 who keep backing and forthing. It's like, are you doing this? You know what I mean? Actually, no, what's going to happen is now that a bunch of people who type as 4-wing 3 who aren't 4-wing 3 are going to now start typing as 4-wing 5. Don't email me about that either. Okay, bye.